Just after 5:30 Eastern time here on Thursday, August 1st. Welcome inside the channel. I'm Bobby Trosset, and as always, this is where I bring you Baltimore sports and beyond. Today's live stream is brought to you by my friends at Preston Automotive Group. Another day of Ravens training camp practice has wrapped up, and we've got a lot to discuss as a result. Coming up in the show, Kyle Hamilton, just an extraordinary effort and an all-out play. One of the top training camp plays of the day. To somehow steal a ball from Mark Andrews that was perfectly placed by Lamar Jackson. We'll get into that with some screenshots. We'll also talk about Tylan Wallace's hot start to training camp. Could he potentially be making his way from the bubble into a lock for the 53-man roster later this summer? Roger Rosengarten gets his first legitimate chance of training camp to prove himself with the ones, the significance of that. Some injuries, including Adisa Isaac and Ben Cleveland, and some other nuggets as well. So let's dive right in, and we'll begin with this and Brian Wacker's observations out there as one of the beat reporters. A few of his nuggets, of course, at the top was Kyle Hamilton, who yanked an interception for Mark Andrews on a Lamar Jackson pass. The specific play itself, it was extraordinary. Lamar drops back, drops a dime right in the bucket. Mark hauls it in, at least you thought for a second, and just an all-out from start to finish effort there from 14, which makes him one of the game's great safeties through 2 early years. Look at the effort, the inability to quit, right? Like the fearlessness. The guy's so good in space, so good when it comes to creating. And here's one more look at this. Again, Lamar drops back, plenty of time, throws a dart to Mark Andrews, and Kyle just somehow stays in it and swipes it at the very end. Marcus Williams knew it right away. 14 wanted it. And they say iron sharpens iron all the time throughout camp. You hear it from the players. You hear it from the coaches. But these two right here, two of the best at their respective positions league-wide, that's just special. That's an extraordinary battle that you get to see play out between 89 and 14 all camp long. One of the plays, if not the play of the day. Elsewhere, Tylan Wallace had a touchdown from Lamar as Marcus Williams and Jalen Armour Davis collided. More on JAD in a bit. He continues to flash throughout camp. Malik Harrison had an interception on Josh Johnson, who again is listed as the primary quarterback as of right now to Lamar if the season were to begin tomorrow. And from there, Malik recovered also a Rasheen Ali fumble, one of the rookies out of Marshall. Remember, at the running back position, that was a knock of his for Rasheen during his time in college. So something to look out for in the coming weeks as we progress and make our way towards, of course, the 53-man roster cuts. But this, you got to look at this first before we continue. Remember almost a year ago, right? Oh, I'm sorry, almost 2 years ago. It was the open practice that the Ravens put on annually at M&T Bank, where one rep of the then rookie Kyle Hamilton's practice would go viral for all the wrong reasons. He lost badly in a one-on-one rep. Again, a practice squad, or I should say undrafted wide receiver Bailey Gaither beat him badly. Some fan caught it on social media, put that video up, and the rest was history. But today, as Kyle notes on X, he clamped down Isaiah Likely twice in one-on-one reps, allowing no catches, and then was just sensational in that play that I just displayed for you, which earned, one of the top training camp plays of the day. And I think what we've seen from Kyle over his 2 years in the league is this savvy, is this wise beyond years mentality that he consistently uses. He never seems to get too high or too low. Very even keel, very wise, as he was a couple summers ago when he hopped on Twitter and said, "Yo, I am getting fried on this app right now." And he certainly was. It was everywhere. And you had a little bit of everything too in terms of like reaction. How could the Ravens use a 14th overall pick on Kyle Hamilton on a safety? What were they thinking? Oh, he's too slow. Look at his 40 time from the combine. And maybe some of those concerns were valid at the time, but it was one rep. And look at the unicorn that he has translated, and I should say, and channeled and evolved into through 2 early years. An all pro at safety, somebody they use in a variety of different roles, and they will continue to do so under Zach Orr. An awesome story of development, perseverance, and obviously proving the masses wrong after that play that, of course, he would have wanted back at the time. I mentioned that Tylan Wallace play a little while ago. How about this? You can see Jalen Armour Davis draped on him towards the left. On the right-hand side, you got Marcus Williams right there. Great coverage by both of these guys. But the offensive play of the day was that somehow, some way, Tylan Wallace caught this pass, delivered perfectly by Lamar on a dime, and essentially just took it away from these guys. JAD and Marcus collide with one another, and then Tyler ran into the end zone for a celebration and score. Tylan, if you've been watching and you've been following along with the beat reporter staff that have been out there, he is popping so far at camp. And while he was most certainly a bubble player last year, and perhaps he is again, I think what he brought you to special teams last year with the play of the year against the Rams and in other scenarios as well, on top of the solid start to camp that he's having, perhaps Tylan isn't as much of a bubble player as we think. Now, at the same time, they did bring in Deontay Hardy, a veteran return specialist. I find it hard to believe that both of those guys could end up making this 53-man, but I could be wrong. Seems like it would be a little repetitive, though, a little redundant. But then again, Deontay has also been sidelined with an injury, at least here in the short term. So the more that he's unavailable, you better believe Tylan's going to take that opportunity and run. No question. And I don't see Tylan being a major cog in their offensive side of things, right? When it comes to wide receiver roles. They're too built there with depth. Or at least, you know what I mean. I mean, they got Zay, they've got Rashad, they've got Devontae Walker, they've got Nelson Aguilar. I mean, between those four players right there, I don't think any of them are, out targeting Tylan Wallace. But perhaps he sneaks his way onto this team should he continue to perform the way he is at wide receiver on top of what we know he brings to the team from a special teams perspective. Something to be on the lookout for. Before we continue, this episode is brought to you by my friends at Preston Automotive Group. And you all know I've been rocking my Bobby Baltimore white Bronco since October and loving it. Preston has a huge footprint out on the beach, out on the shore. And I spent my 30th birthday weekend, as you know by now, in Ocean City. And the amount of honks that I got, I don't know if it was because of my decal on the back or just the fact that I was driving around in a Preston vehicle. But they're well repped over there, as they should be. The beauty for you is, if you're interested, Bobby Baltimore subscribers receive 2 exclusive offers at Preston. You get $500 towards a new or pre-owned vehicle if you tell them that I sent you. Or when you buy 4 tires, you'll receive 50% off your alignment. You've got over 2,000 vehicles to shop from. Home delivery is available. You'll be joining the Preston team along with the aforementioned Kyle Hamilton, the aforementioned Mark Andrews, myself, and many more throughout Baltimore and beyond. Cars cost less with Preston. You can get started today by visiting PrestonMotor.com or just simply scan the QR code in the upper right-hand corner. There's more information available to you in the show notes below. And quickly over on the site, you've got Amanda as the site operator who can answer any of your questions. You can shop new inventory, shop used inventory. Again, this is where all my deals are. You can contact them by filling out this form quickly right there. And then available inventory can be broken up into a slew of different categories: price range, vehicle type, year, make, model, location, dealership, so on and so forth. So many great things happening at Preston, and I am so pleased and proud to be partnering with them. And thank you for listening. On to the offensive line chatter. Roger Rosengarten got his opportunity, his first extended opportunity to run with the ones at right tackle today. John Harbaugh quoted for saying the following: I thought Roger has been doing well, and he deserved a shot with the ones today. We'll keep working through that and let it play out. Of course, he is their rookie second rounder, somebody who I think has become a fan favorite, emerged as a fan favorite. Perhaps it was things like this from former Super Bowl champion and offensive lineman Tyler Columbus, who had this to say to us earlier in the offseason about a guy he used to coach in Roger Rosengarten.
Know what I'll tell you. I won't tell you the name, but I talked to two different offensive line coaches that Roger interviewed with, and both of them, almost verbatim, said to me, highest football IQ of anybody we talked to this year.
Okay, some high praise there from Tyler. And look, this is a dude who is extremely experienced, somebody who protected Michael Penix's blind side at Washington, and he's somebody who's going to get a shot to be the Ravens starting day one right tackle. Harbs also said that Andrew Voorhees, along with Roger, both of these guys are steadily improving. Both have elevated in pads. And then if you've been following the right guard battle that Daniel Fa'alele has sort of been experimenting with in terms of running with the ones this week, you'll know that Ben Cleveland is also in the mix there. But he left practice early and will have his head evaluated, according to Harbs. That came down earlier today. A very disappointing, I would say, a disappointing, underwhelming start to training camp for Ben Cleveland, which feels just all too familiar at this point, unfortunately. And more from Jonas here, who also noted that, again, this is his first extended look with the first string offensive lineman today. Roger Rosengarten got. He held up well. We'll see. In terms of right guard, I wouldn't hold my breath in terms of Ben Cleveland. I don't have a lot of confidence right now for his future at that position. Let's keep the conversation moving, though, in terms of injuries that you should know about. Rookie outside linebacker Adisa Isaac has been dealing with a hamstring setback and held out throughout camp. John Harbaugh told reporters that he's going to be back here at some point in time. It's been nagging him, but I do think he'll be back sometime soon. He's not going to put a timetable on it, but boy, oh boy, this is valuable time that he is missing as a rookie. And it only hurts a little bit more when he happens to be an outside linebacker. They just lost Malik Ham to a clean ACL tear. Okay, he's one of the undrafted rookies that found his way onto the roster a year ago, got banged up, and now here he is working all the way back from last year's injury, injured yet again. So he's not available. You've got Jadeveon Clowney, who's no longer here, having left for Carolina. You've got a veteran in Kyle Van Noy. You've certainly got a guy who's capable of potentially putting forth a breakout season after his fifth-year option was picked up this offseason in Odafe Owe. But that also isn't guaranteed in terms of like double-digit sack production. Meaning, if it's going to be by committee, you're going to need as many possible bodies as you can find. And so it's just a stinger for Adisa to not be available right out of the gate. I'm not saying it's backbreaking, but we've seen this before with rookies. It can be really challenging when you're drinking from the fire hose and you don't have the chance right out of the gate to learn, be a part of the installs, be a part of camp, get your legs underneath you, get the conditioning down. It's tough. Deontay Hardy, he's dealing with a minor soft tissue injury, according to John Harbaugh. He should be fine soon, very soon. Of course, he was the late free agency pickup. Yes, he is a wide receiver, but he is also a punt return specialist. So perhaps he and Tylan Wallace could be battling for one of the final spots in terms of what they both can do for this team. I see some of you are asking for Yannick Ngakoue, or at least Ravens 76. I thought he came off the board recently. Oh, no. I had thought that Yannick had a visit recently, but Google is telling me he is still a free agent. Of course, he spent time with the Ravens a couple of years back. Let's see what he's been up to recently. Yeah, well, he hasn't been signed as of right now. And you wonder if that's still on the table, bringing in another body. I think one thing we know for sure is that while there were the same questions about where the pass rush and outside linebacker work would come from this time last year, with the amount of talent that walked out the door, given just how impactful Jadeveon was, those questions are just as persistent now as they were a year ago. Now, is it time for panic? I wouldn't say so. Jadeveon nor Kyle Van Noy were on this roster this time last year. Literally today last year, neither one of those guys were even in the outlook, and look what they ended up doing for them. I mean, this team led the league in all three defensive categories that are worth a damn, right? What is it? Points allowed, takeaways, and what was it? There was one other. What was the trifecta? Points allowed, takeaways, and what the heck was the? I'm forgetting the third category. Help me out here. But anyway, I'm not sure they're recreating that. That was a hell of a feat. That was a historic feat. But I'll be very, very curious to see where this production ends up coming from. Sacks, of course. Thank you. Dr. Dre Mason. Thank you. Takeaways, sacks, and points allowed. Thank you, Prescott. Thank you, Chef Trez. Too much live streaming here for me. I'm losing my mind. It's all mush. Well, speaking of a guy who can contribute to those areas at times, he's so versatile. Malik Harrison, according to Jeff, probably had the defensive play of the day, elevating to intercept a Josh Johnson pass. Harrison also recovered a fumble after rookie Rasheen Ali was stripped of the ball. We mentioned that earlier on. Kyle Hamilton had an interception, outdueling Mark Andrews for a Lamar Jackson pass. We know that. And then Sanusi Kane, the rookie out of Purdue, the 7th rounder, first time I've really heard his name, had an interception. That's exciting. Chef, I have no idea how I forgot sacks. How could I have forgotten that category? You want to know why? Because I'm doing too much. For those of you who don't know, Sarah just hit the road for 2 weeks of vacation. Really excited for her. But that also means double duty. This time of year, we're working on a bunch of different projects for the season, potential player shows, partnerships, sponsors. You know it. It's a very busy time. And I'm still coming off the 30th birthday, just like lol. I'm like straight up foggy as hell, coming off just a tremendous weekend with the boys. So all that probably has something to do with it. Perhaps an excuse. Definitely an excuse. How about this guy, number 5, Jalen Armour Davis? No, not Joe Flacco. How about Jalen Armour Davis? Jeff says he had another strong practice, a third-year corner out of Alabama. He and Pepe were both former fourth rounders, 2022. He forced several incompletions, got his hands on a few footballs. He's probably improved his stock over the past 10 days more than any player on the roster, according to Jeff. Damn. This is just one of those dudes through 2 years in the NFL. What if? What if had he been available? How much of a factor would he have been? And I think him coming on certainly makes you think, how much depth do the Ravens have in their DB room? How set are they? You get Marlon coming back from last year's injury. He's looking good to start camp. You go and draft a first rounder in Nate Wiggins, who's electrifying so far. You got a guy who's in a contract year who's coming off the year of his life and a breakout campaign in Brandon Stevens. We haven't even mentioned Arthur Maulette. I mean, we haven't even met. We're talking about him right now, but I haven't even mentioned just within these names so far a guy like Jalen Armour Davis. Pepe Williams seems to be having a standout camp. I mean, how many guys have I just mentioned? Marlon, 1. Stevens, 2. Wiggins, 3. JAD 4, Pepe 5. We haven't even mentioned TJ Tampa because he's been dealing with that sports hernia. I mean, this is a DB room that, and particularly the cornerback room, is absolutely stacked. I know that can change I know that can change quickly. And we haven't even talked safety yet, led by the All-Pro and Kyle. And Marcus Williams, should he be able to stay healthy, you better believe he's going to be a high-impact guy. You go get Eddie Jackson as sort of your vet, your safety 3 in the later half of free agency just a couple weeks ago. You have an undrafted guy who's sort of not unproven, but like, can he stay healthy in Ardarius Washington? You know the team likes him. The game was shot out of TCU a couple years ago. You know they like him. And again, we haven't even mentioned Arthur. I did mention him briefly, but let me continue to mention Arthur Mollett. That's a dude who understands how to play AFC North football. That's a dude who's going to be impactful to your nickel packages. He just fits with the Ravens. And he had a little bit of fun with PQ. Did you see that? This was pretty hilarious. Arthur Mollett having a good old time with Patrick Queen earlier this week.
Simpson stepping up into PQ's big in shoes. What have you so far, especially when you're in that nickel spot?
I've seen a lot of growth, good communication. He knows where his help is. You know, he plays to his leverage. He's doing a good job on those tight ends and passing, and he's not scared to stick his nose in the run game. So I think he will be fine.
And I guess as someone who switched from one team to the other, what can you say
Yeah,
about
PQ. We know the food's not better, bro. We know the city's not better, bro. Come on, man.
That was good. That was good. First talking about Trenton Simpson and just what he's seen playing behind him. And then having already played for the Pittsburgh Steelers and then going over to the dark side, at least from the Pittsburgh perspective, Arthur can certainly speak to what it means to play on both sides. And that's what PQ is going to be trying to do. Will he truly embrace this role that he seems to be kind of leaning into of the villain? Is he made for that? We'll see. But twice a year, boy, is it going to be highly, highly entertaining to see these two teams with all the crossover, with the reignited rivalry. At least we hope. And you know how competitive Pittsburgh's going to be with Mike Tomlin. We'll see who their starting quarterback is, but you better believe that's going to be good. Lamar Jackson spoke with NFL Network earlier today. Gave it admission. I don't know if I was surprised by this, but I guess I perked up a little bit just because it's been a long time. But here he is talking about something that I'm sure you are so long over speaking on and hearing about. But hey, if Lamar's still hung up on it, I'm sure some of you are as well.
What do you think about that AFC Championship game as you get prepared, obviously, for week 1, but more importantly, for the end of the season?
I mean, I'm very competitive, and I hate losing, so I really think about it almost every day for real. It's like, we were so close, but, it's a new season. Can't dwell on the past, even though I still do a little because we were so close, but new season, new opportunity. That's how I look at it.
Almost every day he speaks about or thinks about the AFC title loss. I'm going to go back to something I said. I can't remember when it was specifically, but it was probably months ago at this point. I got to turn the AC on too. It's getting high. I have one of those, like, what do they call these built-in units to the wall? But every time I turn it on for after 5 minutes, I'm freezing. A split. I think it's mini splits. I think it's what these are called. And every time I turn it on after 5 minutes, I feel like I'm in the Arctic Circle. But then I turn it off for 5 minutes and I'm drenched. You can't see it on my face, but I feel like I'm drenched right now. Anyway, look, I just hope that they channel the frustration, the sadness, the heartbreak that went into that late January day, that loss to Kansas City at home as the top overall seed. I just hope they use it to their advantage, not to their disadvantage. Because if you're still thinking about it every single day, now Lamar has always proven that he is capable of compartmentalizing, and he is as mentally tough as anybody that I've ever come across in professional sports. But I really, really hope, really, really hope that thinking about it every day is constructive and not destructive. And that goes team wide. I know you guys still think about it. I know it's still a topic point, and it will come up. It's inevitable. It will come up throughout points of this year. And damn it, once they get to the playoffs, of course it's going to come back up. But do not allow it to be destructive. You have to find a way for it to be, and I'm talking about in-house. How can it be constructive? How can it be motivational? How can it be thought-provoking? Those are the things that I think the Ravens have had to figure out. They're not trying to figure that out now. They've already, I'm sure, addressed all of this and figured it out throughout the course of this offseason, and now it's time to implement it, being that we're just days away from the start of preseason play. And we're coming up on a month to the start of the regular season. So I just wanted to share that little nugget from NFL Network and look at a familiar face who popped into camp earlier today. Former Ravens tight end Nick Boyle and his son, one of the greatest blocking tight ends that's ever come through Baltimore. A tremendous man, somebody who, oh man, had he not ruined his knee. I think that was a rainy night in Foxborough, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that. I think it was. Oh, you got to wonder if he'd still be in this league. Huge, huge Nick Boyle fan. Those were the years that I was in the locker room, that 2019 run. What a tremendous tight end room they had that year with Mark, Hayden, Nick. God, you had a little bit of everything, right? You had a little flair with Hayden, just ridiculous athleticism, toughness and durability from Mark, big catches, chain moving guy, and then Nick doing all the dirty work. All the dirty work and more. What an awesome, awesome Raven. Once a Raven, always a Raven. Those photos courtesy of Ravens Productions. What have you guys been up to in the live chat? Raven 76. I pray every day for our team health in training camp. This is the scariest time for me, is training camp. I hear you. I think a lot of the coaches feel the same way. Christina, go ahead. Kyle Hamilton. Yeah, he had a hell of a practice today, for sure. Manuel, how are you, brother? Mexico City's finest. And a loyal subscriber of ours. Bobby, do you remember the 2014 defense? Is Zach bringing it back? I think Zach's bringing an old school mentality. There's no question. Chef Trez, what about Salah? How is Big Salah doing? We're going to have Jeff Zarebek hopefully on in the next week or so. We will try and get down to the bottom of that. How does it feel to be 30? I think I lost all my stamina. I've been taking naps this week. I've been drinking Celsius. I never take naps. I never drink caffeine. What the hell's going on here? Now, we did go pretty hard in Ocean City. I will tell you that. Promise you that. A little bit too much, to be honest with you. Truth Teller 1. Okay, you're telling the truth. You still think about the AFC title loss. I get it. I appreciate the honesty. Devin is in the building. What's up, brother? How you doing? Appreciate you guys for being here. What else is going on? You guys want to do a couple Q&A before I dip? Let me give some patron shout out. We can do a couple Q&A before I bounce. Greg and DeSales, thank you both for believing in what I'm building. And thank you for being a shout out sponsor of mine through Patreon. Goes a long way towards the back end of the daily operation. Running 2 YouTube channels, working on different partnerships, trying to set up player shows for you. There's a lot going on at all times. But loving every second of it. And it's insane that it's August 1st. August is here. Preseason starts in a little over a week. A little over a month till the start of the season. I mean, we're rolling right now. Now's the time. It's a busy, busy time. Exciting times, though. Seven Scott says, do you think Likely will get receiver split looks? I think they're going to put him wherever. Why not? We know the guy's got wide receiver traits and tight end measurables. Run that up. Come on, Todd. Get Isaiah in as many possible packages as you possibly can. Right? Like, This is a dude who, when I think of Isaiah Likely going into year 3, I think of somebody who hasn't even scratched the surface yet. Because when he first came in, well, since he's always been here, it's been Mark Andrews. And that's just like the built-in security blanket for Lamar. But when Mark went down last year, something changed within this offense. And Isaiah was a major, major component as to why that was the case. If Todd Monken can find a way to utilize efficiency within the multiple tight end set packages that he implements, good night. You got Mark and Isaiah on the field with Derrick Henry in the backfield, Zay on the outside, or perhaps Rashad on the outside, Zay in the slot. You want to throw a jumbo package in and bring Pat Ricard out? Think about the freaking options they have. Holy hell. Devin says we need another QB2. Sarah and I have talked about this a lot. Yeah, I think we're kind of all in agreement that there's a major opportunity to upgrade there. And Josh Johnson doesn't feel like the answer should, knock on wood, Lamar ever go down for, let's say, an extended period of time, a month, or a non-season ending injury. Do you really feel like Josh could be the needle mover? I think he's serviceable, but that doesn't serviceable to me. And Sarah and I had a little bit of a back and forth on this. Like, serviceable to me doesn't necessarily mean needle moving. Would Ryan Tannehill be that? Yes, I would think so. Manuel, who are your dark horse players? All 3 phases: offense, defense, and special teams for this season. Oh, man. Let's see. Special teams, I'll go Chris Board. Remember, they brought him back this offseason. I got to look at the depth chart to figure out what I want here. Defense, dark horse. Again, the guys that are you can't expect, right? The people that the player that nobody's talking about. Dark horse defensively. I got a couple guys in mind. I'll go Travis Jones. And then offensively, dark horse, that's tough. Who's going to be my dark horse offensively? Justice Hill. Chris Board for special teams. Justice Hill, offense. And defense, I'll go Travis Jones. What about you guys? Who are your 3? I like that question. Who are your 3, Manuel? Chef wants to know, who do you think Zach Orr will be ready against Andy in week 1? Time will tell. How about this? I'll lean on what Wink Martindale told us earlier in the offseason. John Harbaugh is going to do whatever it takes to ensure that Zach shows up feeling like $1 million in terms of the prep. But you don't know what you don't know. And when you've never called defensive plays before at the NFL level with real bullets in real time, that's impossible to simulate against the reigning back-to-back Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. So I'll say this, he'll be as prepared as possible. But is that fully ready? I don't think anybody can be fully ready for what he's about to endure over the first month of his defensive coordinator career. It's an onslaught. Strength of schedule out of the opening month is brutal. What's up, Tim? Telling you guys, Roquan and his Hyena pack are going to be the best defense since 2000, and they might be able to actually do something never before seen in the NFL and be better than them. Wow. Look, I think it's going to be hard to top last year's categories. Like I mentioned earlier on, points allowed, sacks, and takeaways. That's an insane trio of categories to lead the entire league in. We'll see. Raven 76 likes Ryan Tannehill as QB2. Chef wants to know if I think Kadir will make the roster as a tight end. I don't think so. For him, I think it'd be a massive win for Kadir and the entire Ismail family if he were to make the practice squad and get an opportunity to show up and show out in preseason and put tape, right? Put some tape out there for other teams. We know the Ravens are absolutely set at tight end. But 6'6", 230, I think, if I'm not mistaken, with his measurables. Wow. With the pedigree, with Q Senior, he's Q Junior. Love the idea of that. Get him in the system. Manuel, what did you refer to it as again? What were they? Dark horse players. Okay. Tylen offensively, Malik Harrison defensively, and CJ Board. I'm sorry, Chris Board. Special teams. All right. Okay, Tylen offensively. You like what you're seeing so far. I got you. Interesting. Tim reminding us from the Wink interview that he said that the system is Harbaugh's. And how long has Zach been in that system? Long time. Long time. But again, you could be comfortable with the system. You could be comfortable with what you're going to be asked to do. But until you are fielding live bullets, that is impossible to simulate, especially against one of the greatest of all time, and Andy Reid. All right, guys. I appreciate you for dropping by. Went about 30. Wow, went almost 40 minutes. Do you guys like this new format? I'm doing a lot more live. Now, obviously, every single day, Sarah and I are live from 12 to 1, which we will continue. But here on my personal channel, I want to make sure I'm not neglecting all of you who've been with me for several years now. So I'm going to try for like late afternoon live streaming. Let me know what you think. I kind of like it. I like popping on here. No more than an hour. But I'm going to continue to try to fit time in for this. All right. So again, hey, can't stress this enough. We are in the middle of negotiating with sponsors, talking through player shows, going through different partnerships that kind of allow us to do this year round. At the very least, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. And then if you find yourself interested in any of the sponsors, it helps us out immensely on the back end, should you show interest. It could be as simple as clicking on a link for all I care. Clicking on a link, taking a look at the site, filling out a form, whatever. It goes a long way, and I really, really appreciate it. It goes without saying. So if you are in the market for a new or pre-owned car, you can go to PrestonMotor.com. You can click on the show notes. You can click on the QR code that you see in the upper right-hand corner and take advantage of some of the incentives that I have out there for the taking. Appreciate you guys for dropping by the channel. As always, you're the best. Again, tell a friend, tell a group message, tell a Facebook group. It's daily Ravens content. You're not getting this consistency anywhere else, whether it's me and Sarah at noon or me in this format as well. So you guys are the best. I will talk to you soon, and soon as in tomorrow, 12 noon Eastern, inside the vault. Later, guys.